So when I was 18, they wanted to, because when I went in, first of all, I've never driven a car before, so like I didn't know what I could do, what I couldn't, what would be comfortable, what wouldn't. So they just kind of assumed what I would need to be able to drive without really asking me. So like the steering wheel on the floor was one thing. The car door opening with a button, that was another thing. So yeah, 50,000 was just not something that I could afford. Um, and so I went in because I called them and I'm like, yeah, I don't need this and this and that. So I went in and showed them how I drive a regular car. And based on that, then they figured what I really needed. So what I ended up having, and like I said, everybody, each one of us drives differently. Because I have leg problems with my left leg, I have to keep that one on the pedals and steer with the right one. So because of that, I had to cross over to get to the gas pedal. So they put like, and I'm short, that's another thing. So they had to put like it looked like an empty brick it was on the gas pedal to bring it closer to me. And then they put a tri-pin just to help me hold it on the steering wheel. And I had a button in my headrest, and it was for left turn, right turn, washer, wiper, dimmer, horn. So I would push it with my head, and then would say all the options. And to select which option I want, I'd have to push it again when it was saying what I wanted it to do. So I drove like that for I think 10 years. And then because Jessica I knew drove without anything, and I was getting to the point where I would need to switch cars and all of that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I have to modify another car. Also, you can't, when you have modifications on your car, you have restrictions on your driver's license. So it says that you cannot drive a car without those modifications. So if you wanted to rent a car or whatever the case was, you wouldn't be able to do that. Um, so I had to go through the whole evaluation process again after 10 years and again show how I drive a normal car. Or it was still my car, but I wasn't using any of the modifications, right? So like for turn signals, she wanted me to use just the normal way you would do it. So then after they okayed me with that, I I haven't had any required ones. Now I did on my own recently put in a new one because my left hip is hurting. So I put a left foot accelerator, which basically moves your gas pedal to the left side.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
and
thought
that's
about getting that before. Yeah.
yeah, and that was not awfully expensive. I can't remember how much it was, about $1,000 or something. But again, that's something that I put in there on my own, not like I was told to do it, so they were a little hesitant. But I know it makes driving easier for me on my hip, but also I didn't want the restrictions on my driver's license again. So yeah, that was my little journey.
And I want to just mention before you continue on that whole left foot accelerator, and I just want to tell um, because basically I had the same thing, but the problem is when you are so conditioned to drive with a left foot accelerator, then your brain associates, okay, my brake is going to be to my right of my accelerator, but in other vehicles, it's the left of the accelerator. So if there ever comes a moment where there's like an emergency and you just have to go to your first thought of how do I brake, there might be a mix up. That's what I'm worried about. I was worried about when I had that modification, and considering I drive so many cars, but right now I'm in Denver where I don't have my own car. I'm borrowing my brother's car, and I have to use the accelerator to the right of the brake, and so I think my brain has to get set on that. And I would love a left foot accelerator, but I think that for me it would cause a potential danger, because I mean I hate to be so dark, but I was literally just last week I was literally 3 seconds away from an accident. And it wasn't my fault. It was literally oncoming traffic coming in from the other side of the road. It was an SUV that went over a median and caused a ripple effect, hitting 3 vehicles in the process. And at 3 seconds later, I would have been in that full ripple effect. But I immediately braked. I didn't lock up the brakes, but my brain went to, fight or flight mode. And I braked really hard, and like I would normally at a traffic light. And I came to a full stop. And it stopped me from being a part of this full chain reaction that happened from someone driving over a median. So these things are very important to think about. Is to really think about safety, is to think
Mm-hmm.
about what's comfortable for you. The hip pain that you're talking about, Anya, I have that in my right hip when I'm driving long distances. Like back in the day when I did like college road trips with friends, it's really hard. And now that I'm 41, I'm feeling the pain of what I was doing when I thought I was invincible. So these things and preserving your joints and things, I know, Kayla, it sounds so like not necessary now because you move like a ballerina and you dance so well and all that stuff. But all these things that we're doing and the things that you're doing now are going to ultimately affect you in the long run. And what you do now can prevent pain that you could have in 20 years from now, 30 years from now. So just think about them and the options about your body and how it moves. Be really in tune to how your body feels. Do you feel like it wears on your hip to have to cross your leg all the way over and do what Anya did is do what you got to do. For me, I'm in the process of, after driving 20 years, I've been driving since a teenager and now I'm 41. So 20 something years I've been driving, and I'm thinking now for really considering modifications for my home vehicle. But again, I was given a quote, 10 grand, $10,000. I mean, that's a fifth of what you said, Anya, but still, that's a heck of a lot of money. And do I want to spend it? Probably not. But do I want to take road trips? Now I'm just like, well, if I want to do road trips, I need to do this. But there are ways to get the funding, Kayla, if you do the research. But like Voc Rehab, I don't know if you worked through Voc Rehab, Anya, but that's how I got my modifications initially. The state of Arizona essentially paid for $10,000 worth of modifications on my first vehicle. That was no money out of pocket. And they paid for the training for me to get up to speed with these modifications, which are very similar to what you mentioned, Anya, the same button thing for the headrest. So I could change my blinker lights, cruise control, and that was pretty much it. Cruise control, blinker lights, and the left foot accelerator and the knob on the steering wheel. All of that was paid for in full by Voc Rehab. So if you decide that's the way you want to go, I would say, reach out to Voc Rehab. As long as you're 17, you can start the process with them. And it's just like application, and I'm sure there's no way that you would be denied unless there's something in the state of Texas. I don't know what it is, but it was very easy for me to apply. And you get it all funded. And it's nice because, they will give you the training too, because that's another thing. My friend Gracie in Iowa was rejected from driver's ed. She's now 16, but at 15, all of her friends were starting driver's education. And she went to her driver's ed teacher and said, okay, I want to start driver's ed like all of my 15-year-old friends. And they said, sorry, you don't have arms. You need to have your parents pay like 20 something $1,000 for you to have a car modified so that you can have access to that for training, which was discrimination. Iowa may not be as forward thinking as Texas, but I told her, I said, that's blatant discrimination. They should never require you to pay 20 grand for a modified vehicle. So she basically didn't do driver's ed because of that. And she found out that her parents could also teach her how to drive. But she should have had the option to do driver's ed if she wanted it. And they didn't. They discriminated against her and said, you need to pay 20 grand for a modified vehicle. There's no way her family of 5 kids they're going to be able to pay $20,000 for a vehicle just for one of their daughters. It was just unreal. So think really about your body and how you want to move forward. You can always have modifications added at any point in time. You can always start off without them or start with them. whatever your preference is. I started with them and then eliminated them. And now I drive any vehicle. Like I'm out of town from my house and driving any car that I have that has an automatic. I rent cars all the time. It's not an issue. They just give you the keys. You say they can't say anything. So a lot to think about. If you want to ask us questions too, feel free to. I know we're doing a lot of talking.
No, y'all are so good. I love hearing about all of this. Um, but I drove like twice in my family's van or whatever, because okay, my mom was gonna have me drive like the Jetta, but like the gear shift is so hard to move that she just wanted me to start in the van since we hadn't really looked into adaptations or anything yet. But like I guess my mom wanted me to ask her whatever, like about like the gear shifts and stuff. Like I don't know, just because
Oh,
like the one in the car I'm supposed to drive is so hard to move or whatever. Yeah.
oh, gotcha. Well,
And every car is different. Some cars are just weird, and like certain things are hard. I remember when I went to Florida, I I rented a car, and I'm like, no, I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. It was not a comfortable car to drive. It was old. It was just not, but I did it. I wouldn't have bought a car like that for myself just because it wasn't comfortable. So like when I was buying my car, I looked at the little things that, so there's things that can make driving easier depending on which car you end up driving. So it's not, I don't think it's just modifications that make the difference, really. It's, one car is more comfortable than another. And, the gears are different in each car. Some you have to like really push the button, and it's just not as easy to move it. Other cars are easier.
I'm gonna. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying because you said that some cars are easier. I don't know about you, Anya, but I prefer the gear selector that's on the steering wheel. You know how there's some gear selectors that are to the right of the leg, well, where most people would have their leg, but there's also some that have it on the steering wheel itself, like on minivans. They have a gear selector that's just to the right of the steering wheel, kind of like right where the windshield wiper knob is.
And I've never used one like that. I never drove a car that had that, but I would imagine it's easier just because. Do you even push a button on those, or do you kind of like push it forward and then up and down? Yeah,
Just pull
so
forward and down.
yeah, those can be easier. I mean, I don't know how many cars these days have them because I feel like that's not a thing that they do nowadays. But there's a lot to consider. And I know, like, from my experience, when I was learning how to drive, like, I've never done this before. I wasn't very comfortable driving. I didn't know, what, like, the more experience you get driving, the more comfortable you're gonna be, and you're gonna be like, okay, well, I'm cool with this. I don't need this or whatever. So I actually think driving your family car before you actually go through the whole process, just to kind of make yourself familiar with everything, and kind of experiment on your own. Like, okay, this is easier if I do it this way or this way, as opposed to like first time you drive, it's with the instructor or whatever, and you're like, oh my goodness. So I think that made a big difference, and that's why I started with modifications and then took them off. And yeah, but I think everybody just kind of goes through different stages in life, you know, like we want to make sure that we're not too hard on our bodies. But I know, like, personally, I'm not the type, like, if somebody told me, hey, don't do this way because it's gonna turn out bad for you in 10 years, I don't think I would listen very much.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm pretty stubborn about stuff. And you don't realize it until the actual pain sets in. You're like, well, maybe I should have considered slowing down a little on certain things.
Yeah.
But there's no way to really prevent, there's no way to see the future. Some people don't have as much pain and arthritis as others. It's all, sometimes genetics too, and how much wear and tear on your joints. Are you right-footed or left-footed, Kayla?
Right.
Okay, so you're gonna probably, are you steer with your, like, how are you doing
I've
it
been
right now when
doing
you
like
tried it out?
steering wheel and like basically everything with my right and like gas and brakes with my left.
Are
Yeah.
you having issues reaching to the gas and brake?
No, actually, because I remember some people talking about that at like Skills for Life or whatever, but I don't know. Maybe it's like just because I'm a dancer or something. I'm just used to like moving my body weirdly, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think it's that bad.
Do you use
My
the
mom hasn't
toe
let me
or the,
press the gas that much though, so
okay.
The brake is
No,
what matters more. That you gotta press it all the way.
are you using the toes of your foot like a ballerina, or you use the whole sole of your foot?
I think I'm using the whole sole of my foot. I don't know. I haven't driven in like 2 weeks, so I can't even remember. But
Okay.
yeah.
Because see, sometimes because I'm doing this and kind of like you, Anya, I'm short. Kayla, I feel like you have really long like dancer legs, but for me, I have to wear wedges because if I want to drive for a long period of time, I don't want to have to be tiptoeing on the gas all the time. So I wear these wedges. Like right now, I found the best pair of Skechers wedges that are really comfortable and grip my feet well, but at the same time, they give me that little bit of uh, distance to the gas, because otherwise it's just a stretch for me. But I am shorter. I'm 5'1".
I used to keep a wedge shoe in the car, so I would use it just for driving.
I
And then,
totally get that.
yeah, but see now, since I had the left foot accelerator put in, and I had that put in right like in October, September, October of last year before the Ohio trip, because I'm like, that's a long drive. That's the longest drive I've ever done on my own. So because like we said, see, and my memory is so bad, I keep forgetting things, but that's why they were hesitant of putting it, because they didn't want to be responsible if anything, because your reflexes, so I don't get mixed up. But I've been driving barefoot because when I can feel the pedals with my foot, it reminds me which which pedal I'm pressing on. So then it helps me, like at the beginning especially, it helped me remember um where the gas pedal is, the new one. But also there's such a small gap between the gas and the brake now that kind of going barefoot is better, so I don't accidentally push both of them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, but I know because I'm so short and I drive on two pillows, like I have to sit on two pillows because otherwise I can't see anything. I have to use my toes, and my heel is kind of, up in the air. Like I can't just rest it on the floor because I'm too short. So at least you don't have that problem.
Yeah, I think my legs are a little bit longer, I guess. I have a super short torso. And I like because you said you're 5'1", Jessica, and I was like, I'm only like 5'2". It's not that much like
Oh, it
not
makes
that
a
much taller.
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I just have a super short torso and longer legs. So yeah, I think I can reach them just fine as long as the seat is moved up enough. Yeah.
One thing I wanted to mention too, and I'd love to hear what Anya has to add to this, because again, here I am, the safety girl, the last person in the world who would have been the safety person, but I am that because I saw my life flash before my very eyes last week when I was in that potentially deadly car accident that caused a chain reaction from someone else's wrong. I mean, I kid you not, it was terrifying. But anyway, I think something to think about too is visibility, because you want to be able. One of the things I've noticed is the way we use our hips and legs to drive a car. It locks our bodies into certain positions, and we don't have the same versatility and flexibility to move around our torsos in a way that maybe someone who drives with their arms and hands. So here's the thing. If you make sure that when you are sitting in that vehicle and trying out whatever, it's your family vehicle or whatever you decide to use, make sure that visibility is good. Like you can see in all your mirrors, right, left, and center, making sure that you can see through all of those mirrors really well. And another safety precaution you may want to consider, because this is what I did with my first vehicle, is we actually went in and the company, the manufacturer of the car that I first got, went in and deactivated the airbag in the steering wheel. Because if the airbag, for any reason, it can be someone else's fault in an accident. If it deploys, that airbag deploys, I think it's under like 200 miles per hour. It is really, not the car, but the airbag itself deploys at that kind of speed. When the airbag deploys on a steering wheel and our foot is up there like this, that's going to really injure our legs. I mean, it probably would, like, I mean, I don't even know what it would do, but I don't currently have the airbag on my car, my two cars at home, deactivated, but something to think about when you do discuss with people who are helping you make the best decisions on driving. If you want to consider deactivating it, if you're the only one driving that vehicle. However, at the same time, it can be a lifesaver for someone who has their arms and hands and needs to use that vehicle, because it could be the difference of them, hitting their head on the steering wheel or not. So those are just thoughts to think about. If you're going to be the main driver of a specific vehicle for you, maybe consider deactivating that airbag. If you're going to have to share it with a whole family, it might be worth keeping it as is and just being mindful of the possible dangers. But I don't know, it's something to really think about. I think about it all the time, but because my husband drives the vehicles that I drive, I just left the airbag as is. And I guess I'm taking a risk in a sense of my own feet and legs, unfortunately. But the airbags are there for a reason. I'm sure they've saved many lives. But just making sure you find a way to buckle yourself in securely. That's one thing we can control, is always having our seatbelt on, even though it is uncomfortable. It like rubs up on our legs and hips and things.
Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh. Especially when you're lifting up your leg, it just like gets right in that crease between your leg and your hip, and it just is annoying. But yeah.
Yep. I know.
So I'm gonna tell you what I do with that. Now, when I was doing my behind the wheel like driving test, I had my seatbelt like that and nobody has said anything. I've had cops stop me and see it. They never said anything. I put it over the left leg and under the right one so that it doesn't dig into my thigh when I lift the right leg up on the steering wheel. So the seatbelt is still across my chest. It's just not across my full lap. So that's what I've been doing since I've started driving. But I wanted to mention too, regarding the airbags, I've actually been in a car accident where they did go off. I was 20 and pregnant at the time. I was fine. And my hip did hurt for a little bit, but like, I guess, well, here I am. Nothing major happened, but that's always a thing too. And I don't know about you, Jessica, but like I constantly change the position. Like I never hold my foot on the steering wheel in the same spot. Like sometimes I hold it on the top, sometimes on the left, sometimes on the right, sometimes on the bottom. Like literally, especially when I drive for a long time, I feel like the more I switch it up. And the one thing that I love is either driving on roads where I know where I'm going, or using the GPS so that I know, like, hey, I'm going to be turning here, or I need to switch lanes here. Because if I know I'm going to be switching lanes, I try to make sure to keep my foot closer to the blinkers so that it's easier to switch it that way. If I know I'm just going straight for a long time, then I don't really, not that I can't switch it fast, but it's kind of thinking ahead and making sure that you make it easier on yourself.
Yeah. Those blinkers too, just so you know too, Kayla, if for some reason it's easier for you to use what's called a left side blinker, that's another modification that my other friend, he was born without arms and he's in Virginia. He decided that, sorry, called a right side blinker because the blinkers are normally to the left of the steering wheel, right? Am I correct on that? They are, right? Yeah. Yeah, they're normally
Yeah,
on the
that's why I
left
was
of the steering.
confused. I was like, wait, that is the side
Yeah.
they're on.
So it was hard for him to reach around the steering wheel while still having grip of the steering wheel. So he decided to go in, and I didn't know about this, but he told me that there is a right side blinker. Sorry, there's someone calling on the other line, but they'll go to voicemail. But anyways, it's called like a right side blinker lever. So you can switch off if it's easier for you to steer. I mean, not steer, but change right, right turn signal, left turn signal. If it's easier to keep it to the right, that's an option.
Yeah. Do you keep your heel on the steering wheel, Jessica, when you turn your blinkers on?
No. And let's see, do I? No, what I do, this is different. Do you use your heel?
Yeah. So I keep my heel on the steering wheel and just use my toes to flip it up and down.
Okay, that's weird because I actually wouldn't be able to essentially curve my foot enough with my heel on the steering wheel. So what I do is instead I wrap the upper part of my foot around the steering wheel so I still have grip of the steering wheel, and then I'm using my toes to get that blinker.
Okay.
So it's totally different techniques, but you kind of just find the way that works for you.
Yeah. And speaking of which, and I have no idea if anybody else has this problem or if it's just me because of like me being so not proportionate, and like because I have a short torso too, compared to like my legs, although my legs are not long. But anyways, every time I sit, and I don't know if it's the way I push my upper back into the back of the seat, if the headrest is the way it normally is and I sit, I end up sitting like this. And then I can't turn around to like, check if there's anybody in my blind spot or whatever. Which helps now that the cars, a lot of them have the little lights by the rear view mirror, by the side mirrors, and all of that. That helps. The cameras help, all of that. But what I do is I take the headrest off and turn it around so that instead of it going forward, it actually is kind of tilted backwards so that I have more space for my neck and my head to move. And I've never been able to drive with it normal. Every time I try a different car than mine, I have to switch it because otherwise I can't move. So that might just be a me thing, but
No, I hate headrests. Headrests are annoying to me. They're just, I don't know. I know they're there to create a cushion if you do get whiplash, but for me, it's just like, especially some of these modern new cars, something to think about, Kayla. Make sure you're sitting in the vehicles because some of the more newer vehicles have the headrests that are really, they're supposed to be effective, but they just are like the bane of my existence because they just like you're saying on it, it just locks your head. And as I mentioned before, visibility is critical. So we have to be able to move our heads around, especially if our torso and hips have to be locked in to grip the wheel and whatnot.
yeah. So that's why I never like wanted to actually remove the headrest because we need it. But having it turned around, it just kind of gives you a little more space.
I never thought of that. Yeah, that's a good suggestion because those things pop out really easily. I've never turned it around, but I might have to start doing that from now on. With some of these rental cars that I get that are just they're new. They're like a 2023 or something, and they always have that. Yeah. Any other questions from you, Kayla and stuff? And it looks like Sean just put in the chat the link to the vocational rehabilitation, which is
Yes,
awesome.
I saw that. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't really think of any other questions. Like I only just started driving, so I don't really. I just kind of suck in general at it right now. I'm just not a very good driver, so I don't really know.
Just get a lot of practice, you know, as much as you can, because the more practice you get, the more confident you get. And you know, if it ever, don't let anyone like be whatever, because I've had people say that I needed modifications, but don't let anyone opinion feel like they should dictate what happens. It's whatever you're comfortable with. Fortunately, you know, you have the option of both. It's definitely how you're feeling about everything, and just the more practice you get, the more confident you'll feel about it, I think.
Yeah, and what I've learned is that the fact of the matter is not everybody has, or a lot of most people don't have a lot of experience with, if any, with bilateral amputees. Yeah. Like I none of the people I've ever worked with have worked with anybody who is missing both arms. So like you need to kind of be able to speak up and tell them, okay, no, I need this, but no, I don't need this because I'm comfortable with this, because they don't know any better. It's not a common disability that people, run across all the time and might not have all the information. So you just need to be your own advocate. Because when I was in high school, the reason I didn't do driver's ed in high school is because same thing. No, you can't, you shouldn't, and we're not going to let you, and insurance is going to be through the roof and all of that. So I ended up waiting till I was 18 for that reason. But you just need to know your capabilities, and don't let anybody tell you that you can't if you can.
I love that you said that, Anya, about insurance. So I'm going to jump on that one because I don't think we brought that up. But here's the thing, and Kayla, make sure you tell this to your parents too, or whoever is helping you with insurance. They do not need to know that you have no arms. Basically, the insurance will ask you the age, obviously, because it knows you're a teen driver. So that's going to make your insurance high to begin with. But there is no reason any insurance company needs to know that you don't have arms. So do not volunteer that information, because you never know about this discrimination out there. And I have never volunteered to any of my insurance companies in 25 years of driving now. I have never volunteered any information about myself not having arms. And they don't have to ask it of you. Legally, they cannot ask you legally, but basically they just can't, inquire about that. That's none of their business, basically. So don't volunteer it. If they don't need it, don't volunteer it.
Good point. I wish I knew that when I was 15, 16.
Yeah, it's unfortunate how they are, but those insurance companies are going to discriminate, even though they're not allowed to. And one thing too is that when I was in an accident that wasn't my fault, man, I got a whole record over here, but it wasn't even my fault. Someone rear-ended me, and it was a teenage driver rear-ending me. And so his mother tried to claim to the insurance company that, oh, the driver that my son hit, she was driving without any arms, and therefore it should, I don't know, like alleviate some of his responsibility. That is not right to use our difference against us, but people will do it. So just so you know, even if it's not even your fault, all rear-ending accidents are the fault of the driver, the person who rear-ended you. But in that situation, the mom was trying to get a break because she knew that the moment the insurance company knew that her son, who's a teenager, got in a car accident, the rates were going to go through the roof. So that's the challenge with all teenagers, is insurance is going to be high no matter what.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I know. Talk about she's trying to get any like out she can to save herself from paying for increased insurance. She literally told that to the insurance company. So, but just be aware there are going to be people out there that are going to discriminate, and just do the best you can to be a safe driver and prove them wrong. And then another thing, if you want to consider this, if you really, we are obviously in a litigious society where people are very sue happy and they want to find these excuses to blame on other people. If you want to invest in a dash cam, just so that you have your, it kind of gives you a back up evidence that you're not at fault in a situation, consider one of those dash cams if you come across one, or for any reason, Voc Rehab would consider getting you one at no cost to you. It's just another level of protection for these people who are discriminatory towards our disabilities, unfortunately.
So I think ultimately you have to figure out what your comfort level is with stuff and what you feel like might make driving more comfortable or whatever the case is. Because you need to be confident behind the wheel, like I can't see myself when I was young and not experienced driving without the stuff that I had, the modifications, just because I know myself and I would have been thinking about doing all of that instead of like focusing on the actual driving aspect of it. Whereas now it's like, you know, it doesn't. But everybody's so different. You just need to know yourself well and um, try different things out. And I've tried so many different pillows out, so many different things. It's all a trial and error. And sometimes, you might think something's going to work and it's okay, but then you find something better. And, it all depends on a lot of things, but you have options. There's a lot of options. That's a good thing. Um, so good stuff.
The rear backing camera does help our necks a little bit now that they have that. So if you have the option of a rear backing camera, that's cool because, again, we're locked into a position when we use our legs. So we don't have the same flexibility to just turn around and look back, which I grew up on using, not having a rear backing camera. But now that they have them, why not use it? It just gives you more visibility. And then what other features do they have nowadays? I know all this stuff is like expensive, so that's the problem. Unless you get like some big, real nice grant or something that'll be like, we'll cover your vehicle too. But I mean, I know that's probably living in a dream world. So, but try to find out what you can get.
You know what though? The other thing is, because I know that when I was getting my driver's license, my mom was driving my car. So like putting a steering wheel on the floor wasn't even really an option because I was sharing the car with her. But I drove, it was like an '06 Nissan Sentra, which was small and didn't have all the little things that make life so much easier. I know for me, what the big thing is. Um, okay, so in old cars, you had to, when you put your blinker on for like, say you're switching lanes, you had to manually turn it off. Now with the cars now, if you just flip it up or down just a little bit, it blinks like 3 times and it goes off on its own. Like those little things, just I don't know. I find that it makes my life so much easier because I don't have to then worry about pushing it again and all of that. So I think yes, modifications are amazing and they make a huge difference if you can get them and if you want to get them, but also the type of car that you drive makes a big difference. Yeah.
I know, like if I could have any car, I know this sounds funny, and I know it's totally not a fashionable car, especially for your age, Kayla, but if I could drive any car, I would drive a minivan. I don't know why, but it has the knob for gear selection to the right of the steering wheel. It has a really big window, and it's just easy to maneuver things in and out of the car. Like those buttons for the sliding door, or not sliding doors, what are they called? Whatever those doors are. And then the back hitch where you can just press a button to open and close. I know that's a feature on all SUVs because I have it on my SUV too. But minivans, I don't know why. They just seem roomier, and things are, and it's roomier on the floor. So I can have my purse, my little things that I keep on the floor at foot's reach, and in the easier, it's just easier all around. I don't know why, but a minivan is my choice. What about you, Anya, on your cars?
So I have an SUV now, and I mean, I don't have the sliding doors or anything, but and I wish I had the button on the trunk, not the button, but like where you can do it from there. Because in my car, I have a button next to my steering wheel to open and close it. But like if and I really, well, not really. The only reason I use the trunk is to get my dog in there. So then I have to, if I go and open it in the back, I can't close it there. I have to leave it open, go to the front of the car and close it there. So my car is missing a few of the things that I wish it had, but it is what it is. I don't have too much room on the floor, but my purse is small, so I guess it's okay. It's a good thing we're driving now and not like years and years back where like I had to use the little knob to open the window and close it. Like there's a lot of conveniences these days. So that's awesome.
And the keys, the entryway, like when you open the door, it's so annoying for me to carry keys in my shoes. So I like the system where you keep the keys in your purse or pocket, which we don't really use pockets, at least I don't, because pockets are hard to get into. But basically having the key system, it's called Smart Key, I think, where you just put your limb, whether it's your hand or foot, in the door knob, and it will unlock the car as long as you have the keys on you somewhere, like in a purse or a bag or something nearby.
That's cool. I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, smart. I think smart key system.
Yeah, that's huge.
I'm definitely gonna have to tell my mom about that. That's cool.
Well, hey guys.
Hey.
It sounds like we're wrapping up, but I think that was awesome, and I'm glad that this can be a recording that we can share with other people. I think it's going to be super helpful. Jackie texted me to say she was on the road and that she was super grateful it's being recorded.
Awesome.
Yeah, I hope it can help others too.
Yeah, thank you so much for doing this.
You're welcome. Thanks for bringing us together too, Sean. This has been good. It's good to see everyone's face again.
Yeah. And Kayla, if you think of any other questions, just reach out to us.
Yep.
Thank you all so much. This was amazing and super helpful.
Kayla, your mom you obviously have everybody's email addresses, and your mom has everybody's cell phone number. So reach out anytime.
I definitely will.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Awesome. Thank you.
Safe driving, everyone.
Happy
Bye.
driving. Safe driving. Bye.